Hello and welcome to coverage of Grin's Gore for the custom standard format. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching the Swiss round 4 match between Zangy, who's playing Big Blue, and Calibur, who's playing Game Boy Advance, which is essentially a 5-color mid-range deck, except to replace the white with colorless. Big Blue, on the other hand, is essentially like a tempo-y deck, which controls the game with counterspells and bounce spells in the early half of the game, and then runs out some win cons which also generate card advantage, such as Avatar of the Ocean and Gaolani. So looking at the opening hands here, Calibur has a good curve of turn 2 Spore Flow. Could get hit by a Disrupting Current here, but I think if you're Calibur, you just try to run it out before Zangy gets to draw anything else. Yeah, and Spore Flow is really good in this matchup because it can exile instants and sorceries from Zangy's grave so that Gaolani can't flip. And also is just one of those threats which, once it sticks, like, it basically takes over the game on its own very quickly. So yeah, Zangy's going to drop a third island, going to run out a Kalepa Tidesurger to bounce the Spore Flow, buy themselves some time. Also, Zangy is drawn into a Mirage Oddity, so could try Mirage Odditying next turn, and then immediately Kalepa Tidesurger the next turn to kill the Spore Flow Protector, because yeah, Calibur's totally going to run it out again. Ooh, and a Sand Warp coming from Zangy. Probably too early to cast that, and unless Calibur has something crazy, wouldn't want to cast that, just because that puts you off Epic of Ekbrom. So he's going to tap out for the Mirage Oddity. The question is here, Calibur's going to run out of Jabaya. And if you're Zangy, I think Zangy may elect to try and Sandwarp the Jabaya, because Jabaya gets one of the flip lands, which Zangy doesn't have a good way of answering right now. Other than, I guess, Epic of Ekbrom X=1. On end, Calibur's going to hired hit the Mirage. Oh, the Kalepa Tidesurger? I think that's a mistake. I think you want to try and hired hit the Mirage Oddity, because then Zangy has to waste 2 lands, which puts them off of Sandwarp. And it also makes it so that the Mirage Oddity doesn't come back until the end of Calibur's turn, so Calibur can swing in with this Spore Flow Protector. See, and Kalepa Tidesurger is really, like, yeah, I think that was a mistake by Calibur right there. You want to, and you want to have removal on the Mirage Oddity as much as you can. Like, you just want to force Zangy to have to waste all of their lands as soon as possible so they can't anymore. And yeah, Zangy is going to Sandwarp the Jabaya. That does cripple Zangy in terms of being able to play any cards in their hand, though. At this point, I guess they're hoping that the Mirage Oddity will carry them to have a faster clock, but the Spore Flow Protector could do it. And yeah, top pick's a Cryocell, doesn't have any more lands to cast spells with. This is a problem because this means Calibur can run out the Eon Overwatch, and then Zangy doesn't have lands to waste to save the Mirage Oddity, and then can't recast the Mirage Oddity. That might just lose the game for Zangy on the spot, actually. So yeah, Eon Overwatch and is going to bounce the Mirage Oddity. And this is a problem because now Calibur has a 4-turn or 3-turn clock now on Zangy. And then Zangy cannot play any spells in their hand whatsoever. Like, I think the only thing that would save them is a big Epic of Ekbrom, but yeah, no more lands. They're just hitting pure cards, and yeah, Zangy's just gonna concede at that point. There's no coming back from that. Yeah, that's the problem with, like, these reactive control decks versus something like Game Boy Advance, is that the number and strength of the threats that they have, and how they're like essentially 2-for-1s, because like Jabaya fetches a flip land, Eon Overwatch bounces like Zangy's win con. It just makes it very hard for reactive decks to do anything. I think, yeah, hopefully in game 2, Zangy can see more cheap counter magic like Disrupting Currents, because that's what you really need in this matchup. Because Zangy really only had like the Epic of Ekbroms and other expensive spells, which kind of put them out of the interaction game. Okay, so getting into game 2, we see that Zangy is sided in the Tempered Oncolims. Trying to play a more tap-outy game, but I don't know if that's the way to go, because of how strong the threats that Calibur has are. Like, I feel like you have to interact with them on the stack because their ETBs are so strong. and I don't think that the Tempered Onclums match up to them well enough. It does have a Cryo Cell as early removal and 2 Disrupting Currents. The Steel Sabotage also functions as counter magic, so yeah, Zangy's gonna immediately Disrupting Current the Spore Flow Protector, yep. Then has a second Disrupting Current for either the Foog or the Jabaya, whichever one Calibur tries to run out. And then Lazaire is stranded in Calibur's hand for a while. And yeah, no turn 3 play here for Calibur. Just has to drop the Fractured Revenant and pass. And a third Disrupting Current for Zangy. They're not running out of interaction here. And no, running out the Tempered Onclum. Why would you do this? I think this is a misplay from Zangy. I really do. I feel like Zangy should have just waited. Because now, yeah, Calibur's just going to on-end kill the Tempered Onclum with the Hired Hit. But the 4 mana spot is where Calibur has like so much of their powerful threats. Why would you tap out right before Calibur gets to that 4 mana spot? That just feels like a huge punt from Zangy here. Because now Calibur can resolve a Jabaya or a Foog, whichever one they want, really. The Foog is probably better as repeated hand attack, honestly. Because the Jabaya also can't flip. So yeah, Calibur's going to run out the Foog using the Royal Domain. And then now can just keep hand attacking Zangy. And Zangy doesn't have any answer to this because it's resolved. Like, I don't think Zangy has any response to resolved Planeswalkers, in fact. So Calibur's going to make Zangy discard a Disrupting Current. The Coral Baron's here from Zangy, but can't activate it because Zangy doesn't have enough mana. So yeah, Zangy's just going to run out the Kalepa Tidesurger. Doesn't have any targets, but just needs something to be able to start attacking and taking down this Foog. Unfortunately, this also means that Calibur can freely cast this Jabaya right now. Yeah, again, tapping out for that Tempered Onclum basically just it's turned this entire play pattern into a disaster for Zangy, when Zangy could have easily held up the Disrupting Currents. And wouldn't even have to care about Calibur resolving something because they had the Cryo Cell as another way to stall out for the late game. So Calibur, yeah, is going to, after +1ing Foog and taking the Cryo Cell, going to resolve a Jabaya. Search for a Fangmark Cave, yep. We'll not get to flip this Jabaya because Calibur only has four lands with different names. But still, being able to just grab the Fangmark Cave and present a second threat is deadly. Good top deck from Zangy, though, has a Render Inert. He's going to swing at the Kalepa Tidesurger at the Foog, I'm assuming. Yup, Calibur's just going to take it, because Foog just is going to keep +1ing. So Calibur is going to pay 4, flip the Fangmark Cave. Zangy does have the Render Inert for this, though. So Kalepa Tidesurger gets sacrificed to the Hakbora trigger. Oh, and it's going to +1 Foog. I think this was a mistake from Zangy. Should have just cast the Render Inert in response to the Foog trigger. That was really dangerous, but fortunately Calibur takes a Disrupting card and not the hidden card, which is the Render Inert. Zangy takes 8 here from the Hakbora because of its lose a life trigger. On end is going to run out the Render Inert, so Hakbora doesn't present as fast of a clock, but again, Jabaya still exists. And Foog is going to just keep on ticking down Zangy. And there's more reactive cards from Zangy. Can't really do much with that. Has, and only has 3 instants in their grave for this Luminescent Lagoon. So needs 2 more instants in grave plus another land to even think about flipping this Luminescent Lagoon. Oh, and a Liminal Observer from Calibur. So he's going to +1 Foog. Going to take the Steel Sabotage from Zangy. And then probably just run out the Liminal Observer. It's going to get Essence Scattered, but then Zangy still has the Jabaya. Yup, Liminal Observer. And Essence Scatter. But now Zangy's empty-handed and is on a not fast, but still reasonable clock of this Jabaya. The Kalepa Tidesurger, does Zangy play this out and bounce Jabaya? The crazy part about it is that might not even be, like, I don't know if that's the right play, because might just play the Kalepa Tidesurger, not bounce the Jabaya, because otherwise Jabaya finds another land. He's going to run out the Kalepa Tidesurger, and has to run it out, because otherwise Foog will make Calibur discard it. Or sorry, make Zangy discard it. Yeah, he is going to bounce a Jabaya, in fact, interestingly enough. Oof, but does have if Calibur searches for another land here with Jabaya, we'll have 5 lands to be able to flip Jabaya next turn. And could also search for, I believe Calibur's list has a Draconic Crevice. And then Calibur's going to -7 Foog. So now has the ultimate emblem. And is going to once again run out the Jabaya. Zangy doesn't have the counter magic for this. And is a Draconic Crevice coming? Yep, here comes a Draconic Crevice. Yeah, and I don't think there's any way for Zangy to win here. If they had more lands, could maybe do a big Epic of Ekbrom. But right now they're facing down a Jabaya about to flip. The Foog emblem just generating Calibur insane card advantage. And the Draconic Crevice coming in as another threat. So Calibur's going to draw 2 cards off the Foog. Eon, Overwatch, and Tempered Oncolum. So even if Zangy plays something, it just has a land. Can flip the Luminescent Lagoon and try to draw another card. It's going to flip the Luminescent Lagoon, swing in for 4. Oh, it's actually going to swing in for 6 because the Kalepa Tidesurger. Calibur's going to take it all and just draws another island off of the draw trigger. And then next turn, Calibur can untap and then flips the Jabaya. And I think probably just Tempered Oncolum drains Zangy 6, then swings in with Jabaya plus the land token and kills Zangy here because Zangy's completely tapped out. So yeah, Tempered Oncolum number 1. Literally the only thing that could save Zangy here is the Sand Warp, which Zangy just does not have. Wait, Calibur's going to gain life? Okay, Tempered Oncolum number 2. Going to drain Zangy for 3. I guess Calibur was worried about Sand Warp and then swinging in with the Gaulani. Okay, and now swings in for a total of 5 with Jabaya plus, a total of 8 with Jabaya plus the land token. Oh, Calibur totally could have killed Zangy if they just pointed the other Tempered Oncolum at Zangy's face. Yeah, that feels like a punt. Because now Zangy can untap, swing in with the Gaulani, and potentially draw another card that can save them here. Oh, but on end, there is the Foog emblem. So probably, yeah, it's going to let Calibur draw 2 more cards. Zangy hitting a Sand Warp, which once again doesn't save them. Going to try and draw something with the Gaulani. Steel Sabotage won't do it. So yeah, Zangy's just going to concede. And whew, good games. But in the end, Calibur takes a 2-0 on Game Boy Advance. And yeah, I think Zangy, even came close at the end there. It was like pretty even life totals despite Calibur's like board advantage plus the emblem. But I think as soon as Zangy ran out that Tempered Oncolum game 2, everything just dominoed into a losing game state for them. Because you have to, just because of how impactful Calibur's threats are, you just have to play reactively. Still, I think Zangy has played well this tournament, taken Big Blue to a good showing, and Zoo will carry on the legacy in the cut to top 4. Until we're casting that, this is Caillou signing off.